Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ramirez, and I'm the founder and executive director of the nonprofit organization And Rise. At And Rise, we believe that women thrive on building and sustaining strong connections with one another, some of which assist in forming our futures. In order to help facilitate these bonds, we're passionate about highlighting inspirational stories of triumph and to motivate all that attend our events, to accomplish anything and everything that you want in life. To learn more about And Rise and how we empower trauma survivors, please visit our website at www.womenrisechicago.org. I'm really excited to introduce you to therapist and coach Karen Robinson. So, welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love for you to, tell our audience about yourself and your story.
Okay, thank you. So, I am a transformation coach and a licensed clinical social worker. I graduated from the University of Maine in 1998, and I've practiced as a therapist ever since. So, it'll be 23 years in May, which blows my mind. I had a 22-year-old client last night, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been a therapist the same amount of time as you've been alive. So I felt really old.
You are not.
Thank you. So the name of my company is called Heal Thrive Dream LLC. And what Heal Thrive Dream does is we offer packages for coaching that you can do as an individual or as a group, as well as courses. And then we offer some wellness products, including ebooks on different subjects in trauma. We offer journals, both physical and digital, and planners and so forth. So we are still a young, small company. We hope to grow in the days to come. Our mission is to support career women who are trauma survivors, and more specifically, women who are recovering from childhood abuse of any kind. And as we grow, our mission is to make more of a global impact, which means having online memberships where trauma survivors from around the world can come and be in community with one another for support and for a safe place to learn. So, one of my goals is to teach the different ways trauma has impacted our lives, and teach something, so knowledge is power, in my opinion, for women. Like, there's so many women, when they make a mistake, they think, oh, there's something really wrong with me. I'm flawed. I'm not good enough. But the truth is, a lot of that comes from their trauma experience, and they don't know. So once they know that some of the things that happen are because they were traumatized, it's just so validating for them. And also when they see they're not alone because the women around them have gone through similar things, that's also incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah. Now for my own story, I grew up in a dysfunctional home. Um, my mother worked a lot, and when I was home with my dad, he was abusive, more so physically and emotionally. And there was domestic violence in the home as well. And so I grew up thinking he hated me. He called me all kinds of awful names like slut, whore, bitch. I will never walk you down the aisle. And just mean, hurtful things that, of course, as a survivor, you do not forget. Because so in my mind, when I get married, there's no way I would even ever ask you.
Mhm.
And so I grew up with that kind of emotional abuse, and it did impact me. Um, when I was, I think, 11 or 12, I can't remember the age for sure. And I also can't remember how much medicine I took. In this book, I'm a contributor to Get Past Your Shit.
Mhm.
I wrote my story in here. My story is the last one in here. And in it, I say I take a cap full of Tylenol, but I actually think it was more than one handful. I just don't remember. I
Mhm.
remember seeing myself in the mirror. I remember talking to God and say, I can't do this anymore. Please take me in my sleep. And I took Tylenol. Now, I told this story on another video, and what's interesting about the Tylenol is it was a no-name brand, so that's my joke that I lived because I overdosed on no-name brand Tylenol, because I didn't know back then, of course, that Tylenol is toxic, and that's like one of the things that's usually effective to overdose on. So I'm just very grateful to God that he saw what I couldn't see in myself at that time. So yes, when I woke up the next morning alive, and I don't even remember if I had a stomach ache or not, maybe a little bit, but I think I went to school. And I remember questioning God at first, but then I was like, oh, maybe this means something. Maybe there's a purpose for me. And so that drove me. And then at 14, I ran away from home because it just got so bad. Actually, my mom and dad separated, and I was so happy. My mother, um, we moved to a town we moved to the town area. We were out in the woods before, and my aunt and uncle helped us get set up in a little apartment. And it was near the ice skating rink at the hockey rink. And my boyfriend was a hockey player. So I was so happy. I could go watch his games. My brother and I loved being in town to be with friends and just get to do things at school that we'd never got to do before. When my father started wooing my mother back and promising her, all the things,
Mhm.
and promising my brother all the things, I could not be persuaded. I said, I don't care what you offer me. It's not happening. I'm never going back. And so before I ran away, my mother and I got in this really heated fight, um, where she also called me a bitch. And she never had done that before, but she was just so frustrated that I wasn't listening to her with what she wanted. And so after that happened, I went into my room. She left to go see my father. And then I packed up my duffel bag and my boom box. I don't know why I had a duffel bag and a boom box. Like clearly that was important to me at the time. And then I left and I had no plan. I had no place to go. It was like a step in faith, or just the knowing that I deserved better. I deserved a better life than what she was going back to. And so I ran as far as a phone booth. There was phone booths back then.
Mhm.
And I got into the phone booth and I called a couple friends. I was like, can you ask your parents if I can stay with you? And the parents just didn't want to get involved with a runaway. They didn't want to be caught up in that situation. So I called my aunt Colette. And so meanwhile, I'm in Canada at this point. Like my father's Canadian, so he had moved us to Canada. And my aunt was in Maine across the border. So I called her and I just said, I can't do this. And so she came to pick me up.
Mhm.
And there's lots and lots more of the story. Like I was supposed to go live with a teacher, and then I was supposed to go live with nuns. And then there was talk of foster care, because my aunt had a small house and she had 2 kids already. And when things were just falling apart, like there was really no place for me to go, she said, don't worry anymore. You can stay here. And so I entered ninth grade. It was halfway through the year. This was like during the Christmas break that things got really rocky. And so I finished out ninth grade at the American School in Maine, Fort Fairfield High School, and then finished the rest of high school there and got a full scholarship to go to the University of Maine, got my bachelor's degree in social work. I knew I couldn't be a therapist with a bachelor's degree, so I enrolled into the master's program, the advanced standing program. And I've had a really blessed life ever since. Yes, symptoms of trauma have gotten in my way many, many times. I've made a lot of choices that weren't right for me in terms of relationships. I'm not saying that those people were particularly bad or not. That's not what I'm saying. They just weren't a good fit for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so now with my husband, I made I had a lot of years of experience in therapy at that point. And I knew like, okay, yes, this type of person might be fun to date, but they're not going to be a good life partner. I needed stability. I needed someone who had a, a thriving career and they were established, who could take away the worries off my plate of having to take care of everything.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, too, I had adopted a child when I was a single mother.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and he adopted her as well. And now we have 3 kids, and I've had a very blessed life with my family and with my career. So that's what brought me here.
That's amazing. I love the story. Thank you, so much for sharing it with everyone. And I hope, that her story inspires whoever might be, in that situation right now that, there's hope, and there's a reason why those pills didn't work. Just like a lot of times we self sabotage and hoping that, something's going to happen and then something different happens. And we're like, wait, those are signs.
Yes.
I've had a lot of those too, but I ignored them. So when you pay attention to what, the universe is trying to tell you, you just have to listen. And then I think it's maybe not easy to tell, but if you listen, you'll understand what it's trying to tell you. Um,
Exactly.
so I just have a really quick question. So what do you suggest for women who are in the process of healing? What advice would you give to them?
So my first piece of advice is to have what's called self-compassion. And that's really hard for survivors. A lot of the times they're very quick to judge themselves, to beat themselves up. So one of the tools I use is I get my clients to buy a book. It's called Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff, who is a psychiatrist, I believe, or psychologist, one of those.
Mm,
And I think she's a psychiatrist. And she just writes about her own journey of learning how to have more compassion for herself with her family situation. My clients who get it on audiobook and listen to it before they go to sleep, they just find her voice so gentle. And even though before they order it, they're like, oh, that's going to be woo woo, or that's not going to be helpful.
mhm,
That's dumb. Once they get it, and this is my males too. I have a lot of male survivors listening to it. They're like, it's so nice to hear someone, validate you and say you're worthy. It's just so nice to
mhm.
listen to. So that's one of my suggestions is to really work on building yourself back up, especially before you do any major therapy in terms of talking about the abuse and processing it. I really believe it's most important first is to be empowered, so you can see that you can handle, because it can be re-traumatizing if you don't do it carefully. So I'm all about, survivors becoming more empowered, being more comfortable in their own skin, know what it feels like to relax in their body before we do the deeper work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's like you said, it's very, very important, the self-care and being kind to oneself. And, I can say I'm guilty of the same thing of being really hard on myself and blaming myself, and now I'm in a very different mindset of how I talk to myself and even how I feel about like my trauma. Like I used to feel guilty about talking about it and all that stuff. And now I don't. I'm like, I feel great about it. So it's just a lot of like mindset things that we have to overcome when we're trying to heal. And a lot of things are going to come in our way and test us. I think too that that's another um, kind of like hurdle that comes with healing. Um, but we're strong and we're survivors. And I think that once we go through the really traumatic stuff too, then the other stuff's not as bad, maybe. So thank you again for sharing. And if people want to get in contact with you or if they want to work with you, where can they find you? Where can they reach you?
Sure. So my website is healthrivedream.com. That's my website. And if you would like to be a guest, if you're a survivor and want to be a guest on my podcast, that's a way to get a hold of me, because you can submit your email and I can get back with you and give you a scheduling link. So I'm looking for, guests or other professionals who give something, are part of the survivor's healing journey in some way they're welcome to come speak on my podcast as well. It's called Heal, Thrive, Dream, launching any day now.
Oh, yay. Awesome. Okay, thank you for sharing. And we will put that information in the description as well, where you can reach Karen if you'd like to reach out to her. So thank you again, Karen, for being here and sharing your story. And thank you everyone for watching. And hopefully, you found this to be inspiring. And if you want more resources or to learn more on sexual, domestic, or emotional abuse, please visit our website. We have a lot of resources and videos around that, www.womenrisechicago.org. Thank you guys. Take care.